The incident. The gentle hum of advanced machinery filled the secret laboratory nestled deep within the human colony of New Horizon. 10-year-old Sarah Chen, a prodigy with unruly black hair and eyes that sparkled with curiosity, made final adjustments to her latest invention. Her small hands moved with precision across holographic displays, manipulating quantum fields with an ease that would make most adult scientists envious. Just a few more calculations, Sarah muttered to herself, her brow furrowed in concentration. This time, it has to work. For months, she had been working on a revolutionary teleportation device, one that could potentially change the course of human expansion in the galaxy. It was an ambitious project for someone so young, but Sarah had always defied expectations. Dr. Ilara Voss, Sarah's mentor and guardian, watched from the corner of the lab with a mixture of pride and concern. Sarah, remember what we discussed. No unauthorized tests. The quantum field is still highly unstable. Sarah nodded absent-mindedly, her focus unwavering. I know, Dr. Voss. I'm just running a simulation. But in her mind, Sarah had already decided. This was her chance to prove that her theories were correct, to show the world, no, the galaxy, what humanity was capable of. As Dr. Voss turned to check on another experiment, Sarah took a deep breath and pressed the activation sequence. The air around her began to shimmer, particles of light dancing across her skin. For a moment, triumph blazed in her eyes. Then, everything went wrong. The machine's hum turned into a high-pitched whine. Alarms blared throughout the lab. Dr. Voss spun around, her face paling as she saw Sarah enveloped in a cocoon of energy. Sarah! No, she screamed, lunging forward. But it was too late. With a blinding flash and a thunderous crack, Sarah Chen vanished from the laboratory. In the stunned silence that followed, Dr. Voss stared at the empty space where her young protege had stood. Her hand shook as she reached for the emergency comm unit. This is Dr. Voss. We have a code black. I repeat, code black. Sarah Chen has disappeared. Light years away, in a sector of space claimed by the Galactic Empire, a patrol ship detected an unusual energy surge. Captain Zexlor, a veteran of the Imperial Border Force, frowned at the readings on his display. Helmsman, take us to these coordinates. Weapons on standby, he ordered, his 4 eyes narrowing with suspicion. The Empire had been on high alert lately, with rumors of rebellious factions testing its borders. As they approached the source of the energy signature, the ship's sensors picked up a small form floating in space. Captain Zexlor's mandibles clicked in surprise. It appears to be a child. His second-in-command reported, confusion evident in her voice. Impossible, Zexlor snapped. No child could survive in open space. It must be a trick, a new weapon perhaps. Nevertheless, caution overrode his skepticism. Bring it aboard, but keep it in a level 10 containment field. Minutes later, Sarah Chen materialized in the ship's holding bay, unconscious but miraculously alive. A shimmer of energy surrounded her, remnants of the teleportation field that had inadvertently protected her during transit. As the young human girl was rushed to the medical bay, Captain Zexlor sent an urgent message to Imperial High Command. This was no ordinary trespasser. News of Sarah's appearance spread through the Imperial ranks like wildfire. Within hours, the highest echelons of the Empire were in an uproar. How had a human child bypassed their most secure borders? What kind of technology could achieve such a feat? In an opulent chamber on the Empire's capital world, Grand Executor Vexalia pored over the reports. Her crystalline exoskeleton glimmered in the low light as she turned to her most trusted advisor. This changes everything, she hissed. If the humans possess such technology, they pose a far greater threat than we ever imagined. The advisor, a multi-limbed being named Quilks, bobbed nervously. What are your orders, Grand Executor? Vexalia's compound eyes glittered with malice. Interrogate the child. Extract every bit of information. Then, dispose of her. We cannot allow the humans to know we've discovered their secret. But Vex'ahlia underestimated the resourcefulness of her subordinates. Zexlor, driven by a mixture of scientific curiosity and greed, had already begun his own investigation. In the depths of his ship's laboratory, he marveled at the readings from Sarah's unconscious form. "This technology, it's beyond anything we've seen," he murmured. Images of fame and riches danced in his mind. With this discovery, he could revolutionize Imperial technology, perhaps even challenge the Grand Executor herself. As Sarah slowly regained consciousness, confusion gave way to fear. She found herself in a sterile alien environment, surrounded by creatures straight out of her worst nightmares. Despite her terror, her brilliant mind worked overtime, piecing together what had happened. "Please," she said, her voice trembling but determined. "There's been a mistake. I'm Sarah Chen from the human colony of New Horizon. I didn't mean to trespass. It was an accident, a teleportation experiment." Captain Zexlor leaned in, his alien features unreadable to the young human. Teleportation. Across such vast distances. Impossible. Sarah's fear was slowly replaced by a flicker of pride. "Not impossible. Just really, really difficult. I've been working on the quantum entanglement equations for months. I can explain." But Zexlor had heard enough. This child, this human, possessed knowledge that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. He couldn't let Imperial High Command get their hands on her. The rewards would be his alone. What followed were days of intense questioning, thinly veiled as scientific collaboration. Sarah, driven by an innate desire to share knowledge and a desperate hope that cooperation might lead to her release, revealed more than she intended. Meanwhile, on Earth and throughout human space, panic set in. The disappearance of Sarah Chen, once a closely guarded secret, had become public knowledge. Protests erupted outside government buildings. Families hugged their children tighter. And in the highest levels of the United Earth government, emergency sessions convened. Fleet Admiral Helena Chen, Sarah's aunt and one of Earth's most decorated military leaders, stood before the Global Security Council. Her face was a mask of cold fury. "We've tracked the quantum signature of Sarah's device," she reported. "She's alive, and she's in Imperial space. We must demand her immediate return." The council chambers erupted in heated debate. Some argued for caution, fearing the technological superiority of the Galactic Empire. Others called for immediate military action. In the end, a diplomatic mission was approved. A single ship would be sent to the Empire's borders, carrying Earth's demand for Sarah's safe return. But even as the diplomatic vessel prepared for departure, Admiral Chen set other plans in motion. Deep in classified facilities across Earth and its colonies, dormant systems began to hum to life. Back on the Imperial ship, Sarah's situation had taken a dire turn. Captain Zexlor, having extracted all the information he believed he could, faced a dilemma. He couldn't return the child without risking his own ambitions, but keeping her prisoner indefinitely was equally risky. In a moment of cruel calculation, Zexlor made his decision. He would eliminate the loose end and claim that the human had succumbed to unknown complications from her teleportation. As Sarah was led to what she had been told was another round of tests, she felt a growing sense of dread. Something in the demeanor of her captors had changed. In that moment, with a clarity that belied her years, she understood that she would never see her home again. Struggling against her restraints, Sarah managed to activate the emergency beacon hidden in her necklace, a precaution insisted upon by her overprotective aunt. As the Imperial guards reached for her, she looked directly into the ship's surveillance systems. "Earth will not forget," she declared, her young voice ringing with a strength and defiance that would soon echo across the stars. "What you do here today, you do to all of humanity, and we will answer." The surveillance feed cut off abruptly, but not before Sarah's last message was broadcast across subspace, picked up by monitoring stations throughout the sector. In the cold vacuum of space, a small burst of energy marked where an Imperial ship had fired its weapons. To the Galactic Empire, It was merely the elimination of a potential threat. They could not have known that in that moment they had lit the fuse on a powder keg of human vengeance that would soon engulf the galaxy. On Earth, as news of Sarah's execution reached the Global Security Council, Admiral Helena Chen's eyes blazed with a cold fire. She turned to her fellow leaders, her voice low and resolute. Diplomacy has failed. Activate Project Nemesis. The Empire has made its choice. Now, they will face the consequences. As klaxons began to sound throughout Earth's hidden military installations, the galaxy stood on the brink of a conflict that would reshape the cosmic order. The humans, long underestimated, were about to show the universe why it was a fatal mistake to provoke their wrath. Earth's deception. The news of Sarah Chen's execution sent shockwaves through human space. On Earth, crowds gathered in city centers, their faces illuminated by the glow of holoscreens broadcasting the young prodigy's final message on loop. Earth will not forget. Sarah's voice echoed, a rallying cry that stirred hearts and ignited fury across the planet. In Washington, D.C., the Global Security Council convened an emergency session. The atmosphere was tense, thick with grief, and barely contained rage. Fleet Admiral Helena Chen stood at the center of the chamber, her military uniform crisp, her posture rigid with controlled anger. "Members of the Council," she began, her voice steady despite the emotion roiling beneath the surface, "the Galactic Empire has committed an unforgivable act of aggression against humanity. They have murdered my niece, a child, in cold blood. But more than that, they have grossly underestimated us. It's time we show them the true extent of human capability and resolve." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. A counselor from the European Federation leaned forward. "Admiral Chen, we all share your grief and outrage. But surely you're not suggesting open war with the Empire. Their technological superiority is a lie." Chen interrupted, her eyes flashing. "A carefully crafted illusion that we've maintained for decades. Operation Mastermind." The chamber fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. Operation Mastermind had been a closely guarded secret, known only to a handful of top officials. For years, humanity had presented a facade of technological inferiority to the galactic community, all while making incredible advancements in secret. Chen activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed a massive starship, unlike anything the Council had seen before. "This is the Nemesis-class Dreadnought. We have 700,000 of them, hidden in pocket dimensions across the galaxy, ready for deployment at a moment's notice." Gasps and exclamations of disbelief filled the chamber. The African Union representative stood up, his voice shaking. 700,000. That's impossible. The resources required. The manpower. Not impossible, Chen replied, a grim smile playing on her lips. Just really, really difficult. We've been preparing for this moment for generations, counselors. The question now is, are we ready to unveil our true strength and bring the fight to the Empire? As heated debate erupted in the chamber, Chen's mind drifted to the classified facilities scattered across Earth and its colonies. In those hidden bases, crews were already preparing for war, running final checks on ships that defied the laws of physics as the rest of the galaxy understood them. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, a different kind of preparation was underway. The diplomatic ship Olive Branch was being readied for its mission to the Empire's borders. Its captain, Jaina Soren, stood on the bridge, watching her crew make final adjustments. Soren was no ordinary diplomat. A veteran of covert operations, she had been handpicked by Admiral Chen for this crucial mission of deception. As she ran through the mission parameters in her mind, a communication alert chimed. "Captain," her XO reported, "we're receiving a priority message from Fleet Command." Soren nodded, stepping into her ready room. The holographic form of Admiral Chen materialized before her. "Captain Soren," Chen began without preamble, "the Council has given the green light. Operation Trojan Horse is a go. Your mission is now more critical than ever." Soren straightened, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Understood, Admiral. We won't let you down." As the olive branch prepared to depart, Earth's public face was one of grief and desperate diplomacy. News outlets across human space broadcast images of candlelight vigils for Sarah Chen, interspersed with footage of the seemingly modest diplomatic vessel departing on its mission of peace. In the Galactic Empire's capital, Grand Executor Vex'ahlia observed the human response with disdain. Her crystalline exoskeleton shimmered as she turned to her advisors. "Look at them," she hissed, mandibles clicking in amusement, "sending a single ship to beg for forgiveness. Pathetic." Her chief military advisor, General Crix, shifted uncomfortably. "Grand Executor, if I may, the humans' response seems unusually muted. Our intelligence suggests." "Our intelligence," Vex'ahlia interrupted, "has consistently shown the humans to be a technologically inferior species. This pitiful display only confirms it. Prepare to receive their envoy. We'll show them the consequences of trespassing in Imperial space." As the Empire's leadership basked in their perceived superiority, humanity's true response was taking shape in hidden corners of the galaxy. Deep in an asteroid field at the edge of human space, Admiral Chen stood aboard the bridge of the HSS Retribution, the flagship of Earth's secret fleet. Around her, a swarm of activity as crew members prepared the massive vessel for war. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "all 700,000 Dreadnoughts report ready for dimensional shift. Crews are standing by for your command." Chen nodded, her gaze fixed on the starfield beyond the bridge viewport. In her hand, she clutched a small holographic projector displaying an image of Sarah. "Soon," she whispered to the image of her niece, "soon they'll understand the force they've awakened." Turning to her command staff, Chen's voice rang out clear and resolute. "Initiate Phase 1 of Operation Nemesis. All ships, prepare for dimensional shift on my mark." Across the fleet, crews tensed in anticipation. The technology they were about to unleash had been centuries in the making. Ships capable of hiding in pocket dimensions, undetectable by conventional sensors. Dimensional shift in 3, 2, 1, mark. In an instant, 700,000 of the most advanced warships ever created by human hands vanished from normal space. They would remain hidden, waiting for the signal to emerge and unleash unprecedented devastation upon the unsuspecting Empire. Back on the diplomatic vessel Olive Branch, Captain Soren received confirmation of the fleet's successful concealment. Her ship, now approaching Imperial space, was about to play its part in humanity's grand deception. "Hail the Imperial Border Patrol," Soren ordered, smoothly stepping into her role as a desperate diplomat. "Tell them we come in peace, seeking an audience with their leadership." As her communications officer complied, Soren allowed a flicker of a smile. The Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity. But first, they had to fall for the trap. The Olive Branch crossed into Imperial territory, escorted by a squadron of Imperial cruisers that dwarfed the human vessel. To all outward appearances, it was a scene of human submission, a lone ship at the mercy of a vastly superior force. In reality, the Olive Branch was far more than it seemed. Beneath its unassuming exterior lay technology that would make even the Empire's best scientists gape in awe. At its core was a quantum reactor capable of transforming the ship into a mobile command center for the entire human fleet. As they approached the Empire's capital world, Captain Soren addressed her crew. "Remember your training. Play your parts convincingly. The success of our mission, the very future of humanity, depends on maintaining this deception until the last possible moment." The crew nodded solemnly, each fully aware of the monumental task before them. They were the vanguard of humanity's vengeance, the tip of a spear that had been forged in secret for generations. As the Olive Branch descended towards the Imperial Palace, the stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of galactic power. Humanity, long dismissed as a minor player in cosmic affairs, was about to reveal its true face. And the Galactic Empire, in its arrogance, was walking blindly into a trap of epic proportions. The game of deception had begun, and the stakes could not be higher. Little did the Empire know that their actions had not only killed an innocent child, but had also awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity's revenge would be swift, terrible, and would forever change the face of the galaxy. The Trojan Horse Strike. The Imperial Palace on Xarzoth Prime glittered like a massive, multifaceted gemstone under the light of twin suns. Its spires reached impossibly high into the crimson sky, a testament to the Empire's perceived invincibility. At the base of this awe-inspiring structure, the human diplomatic vessel Olive Branch looked comically small and insignificant. Captain Jaina Soren led her delegation through the cavernous halls of the palace, her steps measured, her expression a carefully crafted mask of humility and concern. Behind her, a small team of diplomats followed, each playing their part in this cosmic charade. As they entered the grand audience chamber, Soren allowed herself a moment of genuine awe. The room was a marvel of alien architecture, with living crystal formations that pulsed with bioluminescence and gravity-defying sculptures that seemed to float in midair. At the far end of the chamber, seated upon a throne that appeared to be made of pure energy, was Grand Executor Vex'ahlia. Her crystalline exoskeleton shimmered with barely contained power, 4 compound eyes regarding the human delegation with obvious disdain. "Welcome, humans," Vex'ahlia's voice reverberated through the chamber, a sound like shattering glass and rolling thunder. "You stand before the might of the Galactic Empire. Speak your piece, but know that our patience wears thin." Soren stepped forward, bowing low in a gesture of feigned subservience. "Grand Executor, we come before you with heavy hearts and humble spirits. The tragic death of young Sarah Chen has—" "Tragic," Vex'ahlia interrupted, mandibles clicking in agitation. "The child was a spy, a harbinger of human aggression. Her execution was just and necessary." Soren's hands clenched at her sides, but she maintained her composure. "This was all part of the plan. We assure you, Great One, there has been a grave misunderstanding. Sarah was but a child, a prodigy." "Enough." Vex'ahlia rose from her throne, looming over the human delegation. "Your pathetic explanations mean nothing. The Empire has spoken. Be grateful we don't eradicate your entire species for this transgression." As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the palace. General Crix burst into the chamber, his carapace flushed with agitation. "Grand Executor, we're under attack. Unidentified ships are appearing out of nowhere across Imperial space." Vex'ahlia's compound eyes widened in shock. "Impossible. What trickery is this?" In that moment, Captain Soren's demeanor changed entirely. Gone was the submissive diplomat, replaced by a warrior ready for battle. She straightened, a fierce grin spreading across her face. "No trickery, Your Eminence. Just humanity showing its true face." With a series of precise movements, Soren and her team activated hidden devices on their bodies. The air around them shimmered, holographic disguises falling away to reveal advanced combat suits. Soren's voice rang out, clear and commanding. "Olive Branch actual to all points. Operation Trojan Horse is go. I repeat, Trojan Horse is go." The diplomatic vessel outside the palace began to change. Its hull shifted and expanded, panels sliding away to reveal weapon systems far beyond Imperial technology. Within moments, the unassuming ship had transformed into a formidable battle station, its quantum core pulsing with barely contained energy. Across Imperial space, humanity's hidden fleet emerged from pocket dimensions. 700,000 dreadnoughts, each a masterpiece of human engineering and determination, appeared as if by magic. The element of surprise was total and devastating. On the bridge of the HSS Retribution, Admiral Helena Chen watched as real-time battle data flooded in. "All ships, commence synchronized attack. Priority targets are defense installations and communication hubs. Minimal civilian casualties. We are here for justice, not genocide." The human fleet moved with a coordination that defied conventional warfare. Ships linked via quantum entanglement executed maneuvers that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Imperial defense grids, designed to repel traditional attacks, crumbled under the onslaught. Back in the Imperial Palace, chaos reigned. Soren and her team had taken control of the central communication hub, their advanced tech easily overriding Imperial systems. Grand Executor Vexalia found herself a prisoner in her own throne room, watching helplessly as her empire crumbled. How? She hissed, fury and disbelief warring in her multifaceted eyes. How could you hide such power? Soren approached the alien leader, her combat suit's energy field humming softly. You saw what you expected to see, a weak, technologically inferior species. You never bothered to look deeper, to consider that we might be more than we appeared. As she spoke, a holographic display sprang to life, showing the battle raging across Imperial space. Hundreds of thousands of human dreadnoughts moved in perfect synchronization, their weapons tearing through Imperial defenses like paper. But it wasn't just the ships that were turning the tide. As the battle progressed, something extraordinary began to happen among the human forces. A young ensign on the HSS Dauntless suddenly gasped, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "Captain," she called out, her voice resonating strangely. I can feel the other ships, the other crews. It's like we're all connected." Similar reports flooded in from across the fleet. A small but significant percentage of humans were manifesting previously dormant psychic abilities. These awakened individuals found themselves linked in a vast psychic network, sharing information and coordinating attacks with unprecedented speed and efficiency. Admiral Chen, receiving reports of this unexpected development, felt a mix of awe and trepidation. "Sarah," she whispered, realizing that her niece's death had somehow triggered this awakening. "Even in death, you're helping us fight." The emergence of these psychic abilities threw the Imperial forces into further disarray. Their tactics, already struggling against superior human technology, now faced an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. General Crix, watching his carefully laid defense plans fall apart, turned to Vexalia in desperation. "Grand Executor, we must unleash the Star Eater. It's our only hope." Vexalia's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. The Star Eater was the Empire's ultimate weapon, a closely guarded secret that could destroy entire star systems. Using it was an admission of defeat, but the alternative was total annihilation. "Do it," she commanded, her voice laced with bitterness. As the order was given, Captain Soren's team intercepted the transmission. "Admiral Chen," Soren reported, her voice tight with urgency, "they're activating some kind of superweapon, something called the Star Eater." Chen's face hardened. "Understood, Captain. All ships, prepare for extreme evasive maneuvers. Activate Omega Protocol." Across the human fleet, crews scrambled to initiate defensive measures they had trained for, but hoped never to use. Shield generators whined as they were pushed to their limits. Quantum field manipulators, technology that the Empire had never even dreamed of, sprang to life. As the Star Eater began to power up, its ominous glow visible even from distant star systems, humanity braced for impact. The next few moments would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the fate of entire civilizations. The Trojan horse strike had been a resounding success, but the war was far from over. As both sides prepared for the next phase of this epic conflict, one thing was clear: the galaxy would never be the same again. In the Imperial Palace, Captain Soren looked out at the battle-scarred sky, her thoughts turning to the young girl whose death had set all this in motion. "This is for you, Sarah," she murmured. "May your sacrifice never be forgotten." The stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the cosmic order. Humanity, long underestimated, had revealed its true strength, and the Galactic Empire, for the first time in millennia, faced the very real possibility of defeat. The Empire's desperate gambit. The Star Eater loomed in the void of space, a construct of impossible scale and terrifying purpose. Its core, a swirling maelstrom of dark energy, pulsed with barely contained power. As it oriented towards the human fleet, stars in its path seemed to dim, as if cowering from the impending destruction. Aboard the HSS Retribution, Admiral Helena Chen watched the monstrosity with a mix of awe and determination. All ships maintain Omega Protocol. Psychic coordinators, give me a status report. Lieutenant Zara Vega, one of the newly awakened psychics, closed her glowing eyes in concentration. Admiral, the network is holding. We're redistributing shield power across the fleet to create a unified defense grid. But the energy readings from that weapon, they're off the charts. Chen nodded grimly. Understood. Weapons control, prepare to deploy the dark matter cannons. If we're going down, we're taking that abomination with us. As both sides prepared for what could be the final confrontation, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. In the Imperial Palace on Xarzoth Prime, Grand Executor Vexalia watched the unfolding scene with a mixture of anticipation and dread. The Star Eater was her last, desperate hope of turning the tide against these suddenly formidable humans. Fire when ready, she commanded, her voice echoing through the communication channels. The Star Eater's core flared brilliantly, tendrils of dark energy lashing out across space. The human fleet, a sea of advanced dreadnoughts that had seemed invincible moments ago, now looked small and fragile in comparison. As the wave of destruction approached, the human psychic network sprang into action. Thousands of awakened minds worked in perfect harmony, reinforcing shields, calculating trajectories, and coordinating the fleet's response. Brace for impact. Chen's voice rang out across the fleet. The dark energy wave struck the human ships with cataclysmic force. For a moment, it seemed as if all was lost. Shield generators screamed in protest, hulls buckled under impossible stresses, and crew members were thrown about like rag dolls. But then, something extraordinary happened. The unified shield grid, powered by both advanced technology and the collective will of thousands of psychic minds, began to adapt. It absorbed the dark energy, redistributed it, and in some cases, even reflected it back. When the chaos subsided, the human fleet remained largely intact. Damage? Yes, but far from defeated. Vexalia's compound eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. Nothing can withstand the Star Eater. On the Retribution, Admiral Chen allowed herself a grim smile. All ships, status report. The responses flooded in. Shields at 30%, multiple hull breaches, weapons systems damaged but functional. They had survived, but just barely. Admiral, Lieutenant Vega interjected, her voice filled with urgency. The psychic network, it's evolving. We're not just sharing information anymore. We're sharing energy, life force. I think we can repair the fleet. Chen's eyebrows shot up. Do it, Lieutenant. Whatever it takes. Across the fleet, the awakened humans began to glow with an ethereal light. Energy flowed between ships, mending damage, reinforcing weakened structures, and revitalizing crews. It was a display of power that defied scientific explanation. As the human fleet regenerated before their eyes, the Imperial forces watched in horror. Their ultimate weapon had failed, and now their enemy seemed stronger than ever. But the Empire was not done yet. General Crix, seeing the tide of battle turning against them, made a fateful decision. Activate the slave world dead man switch, he growled to his subordinates. If we can't win, we'll ensure the humans' victory tastes like ashes in their mouths. Across Imperial space, on planets populated by species long oppressed by the Empire, hidden devices began to activate. Seismic charges, engineered plagues, and atmosphere-altering weapons threatened billions of innocent lives. As reports of this new atrocity flooded in, Admiral Chen faced the most difficult decision of her life. All ships, ceasefire, she commanded, her voice heavy with the weight of countless lives. Divert all power to long-range teleportation. We need to evacuate those planets now. The human fleet, still reeling from the Star Eater's attack, now faced an even greater challenge. Could they save billions of lives across dozens of worlds in time? Captain Soren, still in control of the Imperial Palace's communications hub, intercepted the evacuation order. She turned to her team, her eyes blazing with determination. We need to shut down that dead man switch. Now. As Soren and her team raced through the palace, fighting off Imperial guards and searching for the control center, the scene in space became one of frantic activity. Human dreadnoughts positioned themselves above threatened planets, their teleportation arrays working overtime to beam up as many inhabitants as possible. The psychic network strained to coordinate this massive effort, with awakened humans pushing their newfound abilities to the limit and beyond. On the planet Silos II, a young Solonian child looked up in wonder as the sky filled with massive ships. Beams of light descended, enveloping her and her family. In a blink, they found themselves in a vast hangar, surrounded by creatures of all species. Humans in strange uniforms moved among them, offering help and reassurance in dozens of languages. Similar scenes played out across Imperial space. Planets that had known only oppression for generations now witnessed an unprecedented act of salvation. Back in the Imperial Palace, Soren and her team finally located the Dead Man Switch control center. They fought their way in, facing off against the Empire's elite guard in a desperate battle. As Soren's hand reached for the override, a crystalline blade pierced her shoulder. She turned to face Grand Executor Vexalia, the alien leader's eyes burning with hate. "You think you've won," Vexalia hissed. "You've only ensured the destruction of everything." Soren gritted her teeth against the pain. "No," she growled, "we're ending the destruction you started." With a supreme effort, she slammed her hand down on the override, deactivating the Dead Man Switch across Imperial space. As the immediate threat to the slave world subsided, Admiral Chen allowed herself a moment of relief, but it was short-lived. The fleet was overextended, their resources strained to the breaking point. And the Empire, while staggered, was far from defeated. "Admiral," Lieutenant Vega's voice cut through Chen's thoughts. "I'm picking up something strange through the psychic network. It's like a presence, vast and ancient, and it's reaching out to us." Chen frowned. "A new Imperial weapon." Vega shook her head, her eyes glowing brightly. "No, it's Sarah. Somehow, someway, her consciousness survived. And she's not alone. It's like she's become one with the fabric of space-time itself." As this revelation sank in, the battlefield suddenly grew still. Both human and Imperial forces found themselves unable to move or fire their weapons. A sense of vast, incomprehensible power filled the void. In this moment of enforced peace, Admiral Chen realized that the conflict had escalated beyond anything they could have imagined. The fate of not just humanity or the Empire, but perhaps the entire universe, now hung in the balance. As both sides waited in tense anticipation, one question loomed large. What would happen next in this cosmic game of chess, where the pawns had suddenly become gods? A Pyrrhic victory. The universe held its breath. In the vast expanse of space, fleets of warships hung motionless, their weapons silenced by an incomprehensible force. On countless worlds, beings of all species looked to the skies in wonder and fear, sensing that the fate of everything hung in the balance. Aboard the HSS Retribution, Admiral Helena Chen felt a presence envelop her, at once familiar and utterly alien. "Sarah," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. The reply came not in words, but in feelings, images, and concepts that flooded her mind. Sarah was there, but she was no longer just the bright young girl who had died at the Empire's hands. She had become something more, something vast and ancient, and new all at once. Through Sarah's cosmic awareness, Chen saw the universe in its entirety, past, present, and myriad possible futures. She saw the cycle of conflict that had plagued sentient life since the dawn of time, the rise and fall of countless civilizations across the eons. And she saw the choice that now lay before them. In the Imperial Palace, Captain Janna Soren experienced the same vision. Even Grand Executor Vexalia, her alien mind struggling to comprehend, was not spared the revelation. Sarah's voice, or something like it, echoed through the minds of every sentient being in the galaxy. The path of vengeance leads only to more suffering. The cycle of violence must end. But the choice must be yours. As suddenly as it had come, the vision faded. The combatants found themselves able to move again, the awesome power that had held them at bay now waiting, watching, to see what they would do. Admiral Chen's hand hovered over the command console. With a single order, she could unleash the full might of the human fleet, raining destruction upon the Empire and changing the balance of power in the galaxy forever. But the weight of what she had seen stayed her hand. She looked around at her crew, seeing the same conflict reflected in their eyes. Lieutenant Vega, her eyes still glowing with psychic energy, spoke up. "Admiral, the network. Everyone's asking the same question. What do we do now?" In the Imperial Palace, a similar scene unfolded. Vexalia, her crystalline form trembling with a mix of fear and rage, faced Captain Soren. "Your weapon." The alien leader hissed, "This child god you've created. Is this how you conquer us? By breaking our will to fight?" Soren shook her head, still coming to terms with what she had experienced. "This isn't about conquest anymore. Can't you see? We're being offered a chance to break the cycle, to find a better way." Across the battlefield, humans and aliens alike grappled with the choice before them. The human fleet, despite its losses, still held the upper hand. They could crush the Empire, avenge Sarah and countless others who had suffered under Imperial rule. But at what cost? Would they simply become the new tyrants, perpetuating the very cycle they sought to break? Admiral Chen took a deep breath and opened a channel to all ships, human and Imperial alike. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of Earth. We came here seeking justice for one of our own. And in doing so, we unleashed a power beyond our understanding. We've all seen what lies down the path of continued conflict. I am hereby ordering all human forces to stand down." A collective gasp went through the fleet. Chen continued, her voice gaining strength. "But standing down doesn't mean giving up. I propose an immediate ceasefire and the formation of a Galactic Council with representatives from all sentient species. Together, we can forge a new path, one of cooperation and mutual understanding." In the Imperial Palace, Vexalia listened to the transmission, her compound eyes reflecting a complex mix of emotions. For millennia, the Empire had ruled through fear and oppression. The idea of cooperation, of equality among species, was utterly foreign. And yet, the vision granted by Sarah's cosmic consciousness had shaken her to her core. She saw now the futility of the Empire's methods, the inevitability of its downfall if it continued on its current path. With a gesture that would forever change the course of galactic history, Vexalia stepped forward. "This is Grand Executor Vexalia. The Galactic Empire accepts your proposal, Admiral Chen. Let us meet and discuss the terms of this new galactic order." As news of the ceasefire spread, reactions varied across the galaxy. Many celebrated, seeing a chance for lasting peace. Others, on both sides, felt betrayed, believing victory had been snatched from their grasp. In the days that followed, representatives from Earth, the former Empire, and hundreds of other worlds convened on a neutral space station. The negotiations were tense, fraught with centuries of mistrust and conflicting interests. But slowly, painstakingly, progress was made. A new galactic charter was drawn up, enshrining the rights of all sentient beings and establishing a framework for peaceful coexistence and scientific cooperation. The former empire's vast resources were redirected towards reparations and reconstruction efforts on worlds it had once oppressed. But the road to peace was not without its challenges. Hardliners on both sides resisted the changes, leading to pockets of conflict that threatened to reignite the wider war. It fell to those who had experienced Sarah's vision, humans and aliens alike, to bridge the divide. The awakened humans, their psychic abilities continuing to evolve, played a crucial role. They served as mediators, their enhanced empathy allowing them to navigate complex diplomatic waters. Some, like Lieutenant Vega, dedicated themselves to understanding and developing these new powers, founding academies to train future generations. Admiral Chen, hailed by many as the architect of peace, stepped down from military command to lead Earth's diplomatic efforts. Captain Soren, her actions in the Imperial Palace now the stuff of legend, became a roving ambassador, traveling to distant worlds to spread the message of cooperation. As for Sarah, her cosmic consciousness continued to watch over the galaxy, a benevolent presence felt by awakened individuals across the stars. Temples and research centers sprang up, dedicated to understanding the nature of her transformation and the deeper mysteries of the universe it hinted at. Decades passed. The scars of war faded, replaced by unprecedented cooperation and scientific advancement. Faster than light travel, once the sole domain of the Empire, became widespread. Colonies spread to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, no longer under the boot of oppressors, but as equal members of the new galactic community. Yet challenges remained. Ancient evils slumbered in the dark between the stars, waiting to test this new era of peace. The temptation of power, the lure of dominion over others. These were not so easily expunged from the hearts of sentient beings. But for now, as Admiral Helena Chen stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, the vast spaceborne capital of the new Galactic Alliance, she allowed herself to feel a measure of pride. The viewport before her showed a breathtaking vista. Ships of all shapes and sizes, representing hundreds of species, moving peacefully about their business against a backdrop of glittering stars. Her eyes misted as she recalled the price paid for this peace. "We did it, Sarah," she whispered. "It wasn't the victory we imagined, but perhaps it's the one we needed." As if in response, she felt a familiar warmth envelop her. For just a moment, she caught a glimpse of Sarah, not as the cosmic being she had become, but as the bright-eyed girl she had been. The apparition smiled, nodded, and faded away. Chen turned as the door behind her opened. Captain Soren entered, now sporting the formal robes of a senior diplomat. "They're waiting for us in the council chamber, Admiral," she said. "The Rimworld's delegation has some concerns about the new trade routes." Chen nodded, squaring her shoulders. The work of peace, she had learned, was never truly finished. But as she followed Soren out, she felt a sense of hope stronger than any she had known before. The galaxy had faced the abyss of all-consuming war and had chosen a different path. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Humans, former Imperials, and all the myriad species of the cosmos, united in their quest for a better future. As the doors of the council chamber opened before them, Helena Chen allowed herself a small smile. The revenge they had sought had transformed into something far greater, a chance to reshape the very fabric of galactic civilization. And that, she reflected, was a victory worth celebrating.